Hey everyone, welcome to World Building and Character Design. So in this course, we are going to talk a lot about designing characters, using shape language, developing personalities, and a lot of you may be wondering, what is the world building aspect of the world building and character design? World building is basically infusing our characters with a sense of story, of a sense of integration into a larger structure around them, not just sort of one-off characters in an abyss with not really any grounding in reality. Ideally, all the characters that you're going to design are going to be feeling like they really exist. They are real, tangible characters. We can see their personalities. We can see how they might react in a variety of different scenarios. Even if you took them out of your story and inserted them into another story, you can kind of imagine how they'd react. That's how well I want you to know your characters by the end of this course. A lot of students that I work with over the years have almost only character designs, especially if they're most interested in animation, which usually the students that contact us are obviously most interested in animation. Usually I only see characters, maybe some drawings from observation, but it's mostly just kind of characters in their own stories or even fan art. In fact, fan art is very, very common. But character design is universally loved. A lot of people want to be character designers or concept artists, which is sort of a parallel discipline to character design. But the interesting thing is that there's actually not that many jobs specific to character design in the animation pipeline. And that's just because a lot of productions want their characters to all be very harmonious together. They want them to all work together, so the artistic style of the characters has to be unified. So part of what we're going to be doing in this course is helping you to actually broaden your own design capabilities for your characters, while also allowing you to kind of employ various skills in character design, like using shape language, character geometry, facial expressions, to ensure that each character feels very distinct and different from one another. One of the biggest things that I like to emphasize in this course is just the importance of contrast between characters, not in color or light and darkness, but actually the contrast between different personalities. There's so many people in the world, or animals, or aliens, or anything else that you might create, but even just people, there's so many diverse personalities and different outlooks on the world and different states in their own internal lives. And our goal as character designers is to make a little tiny bit of that internal life that they all have and make that evident on their external form, on their clothing, the way that they carry themselves, their posture, their facial expression, their general lankiness or largeness of limbs. All of these different things convey different aspects of a character's personality. So, many of us like to think that we are entirely independent and individual, but often from others' points of view, they will look at you and many others and be like, oh, it's that kind of person. And that's not a bad thing. This is just us establishing our character archetypes, the character archetypes that we see in the world. A character archetype is basically a certain set of characteristics and culture and social norms and all those different things that are kind of boiled into the character. So I'm going to use the term archetype a lot. And so traditionally in storytelling, there's some well-trodden archetypes such as the mentor, the villain, the hero. We want to go much deeper than that. We want to talk about archetypes in terms of different kinds of people that we can kind of imagine, like the sort of bitter old college professor or something like that, or the gym bro. These are very simple archetypes, but nonetheless, as soon as I say them, you can kind of probably imagine what kind of person that might look like. And there's many examples in animated films where you can see when an archetype was sort of exaggerated to the most extreme, because animation is a medium of the extremes. So you'll often see personalities pushed beyond their normal limits. And that's part of the fun as a character designer, is to kind of dig into these archetypes, exaggerate, and enliven it with your own design and your own ideas. Often today, you'll also see a lot more complex archetypes. So you'll get the gym bro or the old bitter college professor, like I mentioned, but then they'll have like a secret soft side, or they'll be more complex. You'll get like the gym bro that also like loves, I don't know, modern contemporary literature or something like that. Or the old bitter college professor that also loves collecting little clay pots or something like that. You know, just little weird things to make them more complex. Because the last thing we want is black and white characters that are purely evil or purely good, and that's it. Ideally, we want our characters to have many shades of gray within them. And so part of what I'm going to be encouraging you to do throughout this course is to create a set list of characters. We don't have to necessarily, we're not going to be writing the story, but we're going to be creating a set list of characters that could all exist in the same universe. That's the kind of goal, so that again, if you were making a TV show or feature film or even game, these characters could all be harmonic together. All their designs would be linked by your own artistic style. Intrinsic to being a character designer are many other required skills, such as comfortability with figure drawing and drawing people, drawing hands, drawing expressive capabilities of faces, even making your characters act and perform, and mechanical movements like walking and running. So these things are all also going to come up throughout this course. So summed up, the goals of world building and character design is to make you feel comfortable drawing and designing a diverse range of different characters, not just the ones you're most comfortable with, but pushing yourself beyond that. Your ability to consider different facial features when making different emotions of your character to signify different archetypes. We're also going to be talking a lot about the concept of charm and appeal. Certain characters are going to have a lot of charm and appeal, and certain characters are going to be very unappealing. To push the shape language and geometry of your entire silhouette of your character to create engaging personalities. And really just to create contrast between your characters while each of them feel unified. So that's almost contrary views, right? To keep all these character designs feeling like they are of the same world, but also they're very different from one another. That's a complicated thing to do, and that's what we're going to talk about through this course. So every week of this course is going to begin with the same warm-up because it's going to help you kind of get in that mindset of breaking past your general tendencies towards how you design characters. You know, we all have certain ways that we design characters, that we draw eyes, noses, ears, etc. So this warm-up is going to encourage you to step outside of that by basically referencing other professional character designers' works. So this is how we're going to start this class today. The early part of this course is going to also include some exercises to help encourage you to kind of think in this mindset of contrasting personalities. And then in the middle of this course, then we're going to start to work and develop our own situations, our own little cast list of characters. And then the latter part of this course is basically just extrapolating from the story of the character and designing each individual character to eventually create a whole set list of characters. So you'll be ready to send this to the studios once you're finished this course. I hope you're excited to get started. Let's begin the warm-up for today. So this warm-up, we are literally going to do this every single week of this course to start off any of your week's exercises because honestly, it is a great warm-up and you can't do it enough. Basically, we're going to be using this site called Living Lines Library to draw different characters every week that currently exist in animated productions. This is a great site and many students haven't heard of it. So it's kind of like character design references, but it's a little bit more organized. I like it a little bit better actually. So in production art, concepts, model sheets, and others. And this is all going to be linked in the class resources and also on the homework page for this week. So you can see there's quite a range and it is quite broad and over many years. So there's more contemporary stuff. There's a lot of older stuff. So it's kind of averaged over a longer historical period, which I really like. Basically, I'm going to pick one of these for each week of the course to help you to kind of, draw a wide range of characters that I'll have handpicked that will help you broaden in a different way. And if you really want to, you can disregard my pick and draw whichever one you want. But I do recommend you stick with what I choose, just because I'm going to pick ones that intentionally are chosen to kind of help you draw from a range of different character designers, right? You don't want to just draw a character designer that you like. You want to draw a range of character designers that maybe some you're more familiar with, some you're not familiar with at all. That's how it's going to work. So you'll notice, where is one of my favorite ones, Klaus or Claus. I love this. I thought the design in this was just fantastic. I always go on and on to my students about how great the artwork was in it. So you can go to character design here. And there's like videos and featurettes and things like that, which are really great little resources. But you also have the character model sheets, and you can just flip through these, and this is fantastic details, right? Of just like how to keep the Jesper on model. So just really, really fun. And it shows the variation in the designs too. So ideally, if we're going to pick this one week, which we definitely are, you want to draw from a range, like all of these different ones, that even the ones that weren't chosen as the final Klaus figure. So here he kind of is in his final state. So you'll notice as you flip through these, and really you should scour this as someone who's interested in character design, you should go through this so thoroughly and just find all the different designs and draw from them all. That would make you an incredible character designer who can draw a wide range of different shapes. And yeah, like even look at the nose variations here. There's a huge, like in this bottom row, I guess we have a lot of the sort of downward facing nose, but then we have this kind of upturned one too. And then this one, huge nose, tiny little eyes is one of the features of Klaus. I like that this guy has wider eyes. And they all have different, very expressive hair in different ways. Some it's lopped off, some it's pointed. So, we're going to talk a lot about shape geometry throughout this course, but you can see on display here plenty of variety in the shape geometry of everything. The cloak, the jacket, the little feet. Littler feet are universal, although even this one has larger boots. So that has changed too. Size of hair, face, width of eyes, everything has kind of been tried out here. So here's the final Klaus design that they used. Here's his wife. Alva's another fantastic character. One thing that I really love about Alva when I look at her designs is just the variety of shape language that they've kind of extracted from the hair alone. Like, wow. Each hair variation here adds so much. And even as I look through these different options for Alva, I notice how different ones convey a different vibe. There's different feelings you get from each one. And here's our final Alva here. But the other ones, she's a little more aggressive than like that one, for example. This one's a little more passive. So you analyzing these character designs as you draw them is a really, really great practice. So just something to keep in mind. Yeah, I love these kinds of details too. This is like above and beyond. This helps everyone else draw Alva too. It's kind of like when you're learning piano or something, you get the music notes for, a song that was composed by a brilliant composer, 100 years dead. Luckily, our character designers here are still alive almost all the time. And they've included notes for, how to play like they did, how to draw. And I love this consideration too. This is something I think about a lot. And this too, of how to like make eyes look atmospheric in perspective, not just flat. This character is fascinating too. So you can see there are certain general things that they kept in every single design, and then certain ones that they changed quite a bit. The cheeks, the eyes, the spacing of different areas, the forehead, size of the hat, size of the feet, things like that. Yeah. Here we are with the final one, Margot. These are very fun too, the Postmaster. Yeah, I think this is just some of the best character design out there. I love the Klaus character design. So, yeah. Torsten Schrank. I'm sure I'm not saying his name correctly, but that is the character designer for Klaus. So things that you'll notice in all of the character design here is that this is old school character design in the sense that all of the different features of the body are very structurally drawn. So if you look at this is a very small little bit here, but if you see this hand, you will notice that that is a very realistic hand. And you'll see this with a lot of these more traditionally drawn characters that are more for traditional animation, frame by frame animation, that to get a full range of character, you want to have very articulate hands that are a little more detailed than the kind of, like you'll see other character designs with really generalized features that are more for rigged animation, for like harmony animation, which is very, very different. So just something to keep in mind. I find this kind of more complex style of drawing and character design in animation typically tends to do a little better in portfolio markings. They like complexity, but notice how even as complex as the hands are, perhaps, the larger shapes of the character are still quite simple. So that's a great way to still maintain really good shape language, is you have some areas like the clothing, very large, flat, fairly straightforward, not too many wrinkles or internal details, just the odd one here and there. And then very articulate face, hands, and feet sometimes, but even these feet are quite general. So yeah, having certain features that have all the complexity kind of clumped inwards can help the rest of the character being more simple. Yeah, I can't say enough about the character design in Klaus. I think it is just the best of the best. Like, look at the variety here, right? These are all like the sort of townsfolk, I guess you could say. There's just such a fun range and variety here. And one is like sillier than the next. So any one of these would be such a fantastic character to rotate for your portfolio for those that are applying to Sheridan. Although character rotations can be valuable for any animation school that you're applying to. So, just really, really fun characters. So throughout this course, I'm kind of going to be using Klaus as a bit of a framework in that, there's just so much to take as inspiration here that we could literally talk about for an entire course. So we're going to look at other character designers too, but Klaus is going to be sort of the backbone and the inspiration behind some of the creation of this course. Okay, so for our first week's character design master study, we could call it. So in traditional painting, this would be called a master study, when you would often in back in the old days, you would literally go directly to the museum, the art gallery, and set up an easel. And there are artists who still do this today, which is fantastic. But they set up an easel, and many art galleries actually allow this. It's very surprising, but you might see it sometime. An artist will set up an easel and just do a painting study of a master's work. So it's a great way to learn composition, color theory, values, all that great stuff that you want to learn for painting. So similarly, we're going to do our own master studies of great professional character designers. So this little pale creme boy will be our first pick for this week one class. And the reason I'm picking him is because even though he's kind of a little bit more on the spooky end of the spectrum, well, sort of. I mean, if you've seen this story, you'll know what I mean. But he's also got very typical childlike proportions. And so this is kind of ticking the child box. And each week we'll do different kinds of characters. So yeah, I thought this would be a good one to start with because it's you'll see these same proportions on so many characters. It's very Disney and Pixar too, so this could equally work for their kind of design work. Okay, so you can either just have this screen open and draw on your sketchbook, or you can copy and paste this onto one of your multiple screens and draw digitally on the other. I always like working traditionally because it's easier to it's not easier, it's actually harder, but not being able to erase will help you find the right proportions sooner if you're just constantly erasing digitally, you can just make it as perfect as you want. The other thing that I don't love about digital mediums is that it does encourage a certain brevity towards your work. It encourages you to go kind of quickly, and I really don't want you to rush through this. I want you to take your time and get these characters on model. So the more on model these characters are, the better. I'm not really going to go, for those that are taking the any version of this course with feedback, I'm not going to go too deep into the actual accuracy, pose by pose. But I'm going to look at it, and we're going to compare it to this and see how close you are generally. So yeah, just basically draw this entire page. It might take a while, but try to get it as accurate as possible. The more you do this, the more you're going to learn. Okay, so this is our first little warm up for this week's class.